Now, South Africa has its first hot air black pilot. She's a female. She's 27 years old, Semakaleng Mathebula, and she's one of the few women in the sport which is dominated by men. Mathebula joins us now to tell us about the sport and how she got into it. Semakaleng, welcome and thank you so much for your time. This is so interesting to have you here and to listen to your story. I mean, you're 27 years old. You graduated from Wits University with a degree in international relations and politics 5 years ago. You were originally very afraid of heights, so this is clearly not a career path that you were looking to get into. How did the hot air balloon bug bite you?
So it found me by chance. I was unemployed like majority of our youth. I consulted a professional recruitment agency. And after meeting me, they said, listen, we know you have a passion for international relations and politics, but we think you could try marketing. And it happened to be a hot air balloon company that was looking for a marketing assistant. The week before my official contractual start was the South African Hot Air Balloon Championships. So I paid it a visit to understand the industry. I haven't looked back since.
I can imagine. I mean, at just 27, not only are you the first black female, but you're one of 5 females in the country that's flying this hot air balloon. Did it ever occur to you in your life that you would be one of the first, or you would have such an accolade? I mean, for a lot of young people, even just finding a job is quite tough. Like you said, it was even hard for you after graduating. But for you to be able to get into a niche space that is dominated by white males, how does it feel to be one of the first or one of very few in such a niche sport?
It's an honor and a privilege. I mean, I don't take for granted how my career is something that was out of reach for someone like me, and unfortunately it continues being out of reach. But I hope to use my journey to inspire more people to look into not only aviation but hot air ballooning. The industry is at a time where we do need change to happen, and we're very blessed that the Balloon and Airship Federation of South Africa is open to such conversations. The funding grant offered by the Department of Sports and Recreation has given 3 of us an opportunity. I'm one of those who've checked out. I was the only female, and the other 2 guys will be checking out soon. So the space is being opened up to see others in this niche sport. It's welcoming, it's exciting, and we hope that my journey is a point of reference for many.
What are some of the challenges that come with this job? I'm sure it can't be just as easy as walking into some of the jobs that we do on an everyday basis. What are the challenges that you're met up with on a day-to-day?
So my biggest challenge is, unfortunately, the weather. Ballooning requires very calm and stable winds, and Mother Nature is not always on our side. So when I wake up at 2 a.m. and it's raining, happy for me, I get a day off. But oftentimes it looks favorable even on SA Weather Services, and you arrive at the balloon field and you just realize that it's a no-fly, and you have to take that drive back home and don't look back. So when Mother Nature isn't playing with us, we unfortunately cannot float on the clouds. Aside from that, I'm not the tallest person ever, and ballooning does require some height. So I've been fortunate enough to stand on a balloon bag or even a little step in the balloon basket. A lot of behind-the-scenes things that happen, but it's always happy and exciting, and I'm very fortunate that my crew support my shortfalls.
Just take us through the course in terms of the training that you undergo. How long is it? How intensive is it? What goes into learning how to fly a hot air balloon?
So the duration of the studies is completely up to the student. We start with an aviation medical because we want to make sure you're medically fit to fly before we put you in through this vigorous training. You'll go through 6 theoretical exams, then you'll go through 16 practical flying hours. When you've earned the respect of yourself as well as your examiners, we'll do what we call a checkout flight. And that's 45 minutes of your instructor putting you through lots of hurdles for the journey. Then if he's comfortable, he'll hop out and you do a minimum 30 minutes of a solo flight. If you land without any hiccups, Civil Aviation of South Africa will grant you a license.
And hiccups is crashing?
Not necessarily crashing. I mean, sometimes you might clap a tree or land where you're not supposed to land, because there are certain areas that are no-fly zones or no landing zones because of farmers. You know, we've got chicken farmers and they don't really react well to the balloons. So you need to be very aware of the environment you're flying in. So it's not just actually flying or no steerage, but the community you're flying in.
Semakaleng, I just want us to touch on belief and hope and being able to see things that won't necessarily be at your disposal as a young black child in South Africa. A lot of young black people will go to school and land up in jobs that weren't necessarily what they dreamt of, but just to get out of poverty, it's something they're able to do to put food on the table. How would you speak to inspiration and just looking beyond what we see on an everyday basis in terms of what we can do as a career, but to really dream big and be able to fly in the clouds?
You're right in that, especially as a young black person, we don't always think of certain careers because they remain out of reach. I myself, born and raised in Harankua, hadn't seen a hot air balloon. Most of my neighbors are asking me, what exactly is this thing you're doing? And like many parents, my parents themselves try to steer me towards traditional careers because we want our children to survive, and that's what we need. My parents would have been happy if I was an accountant or a doctor or even a lawyer. Luckily, they were open enough to me exploring a lot of journeys, and that's what I ask for many parents. Look at what I've achieved and what I've accomplished, and let it be an educational journey. The minute we stop learning, is the minute we limit ourselves. So let's open our mindset. If your child is curious about ballooning or aviation or anything, and they might not necessarily make it to being a pilot, but there's so many other aspects to the industry that your child can sustain themselves. It is a viable career. It's a wonderful opportunity, and it soars beyond measures. So let's keep learning. It's an educational journey with a focus on hot air ballooning, but there's an industry much bigger than just the balloon field.
So true. I mean, we're celebrating Youth Month. We have vibrant, innovative young people in South Africa. How would you encourage them, especially in this month, when it comes to careers such as hot air ballooning, in terms of the education that goes into it, how to prepare yourself for a journey such as that, and for you to be able to reach such heights?
I say push through. 95% of what you do is what people don't celebrate. It's those late hours when you're studying. It's those times where you've disappointed even yourselves and your instructors. But it is in those lessons that you find yourself and find what will be celebrated. That other 5% does feel rewarding, but you need to go through that 95%. And in that perseverance, when no one is watching, is where you should find value in what you're doing. So South Africans are resilient people. The youth of South Africa is awe-inspiring beyond measure, and it is that 95% that we make up for. So take up that space and continue.
Semakaleng Mathebula, thank you so much for joining us. You're a true inspiration.